All right, welcome back to the deep dive. You sent over this research paper about deep reinforcement learning as a service, or DRLaaS, and wow, this DRLaaS thing, it's pretty dense stuff.
Yeah, it is.
But at first glance, it really seems like it could be a game changer. So
Yeah. Dead.
let's take a look at this. What is it all about?
Yeah, for sure. It outlines a system with the potential to, kind of democratize some seriously powerful AI tools.
Okay, so the paper, jumps right into the technical stuff.
Yeah.
But before we get too deep in the weeds here, can we just take a step back? What exactly is deep reinforcement learning?
Yeah.
I know it's AI, but it feels like every other day there's a new AI buzzword.
Right.
So
You're not wrong. It can feel like drinking from a fire hose sometimes, keeping up with all this. So deep reinforcement learning, or DRL for short,
yeah.
it combines deep learning with reinforcement learning. And so like deep learning, that's what powers things like facial recognition or
Right.
language translation.
Right.
And reinforcement learning, that's how the AI actually learns,
Yeah.
It's all about trial and error, kind of like training a dog with treats.
So the AI gets a virtual treat when it gets something right.
Exactly. Except instead of shaking hands, these AI agents are learning incredibly complex tasks.
Uh-huh.
We're talking robot swarms working in sync, self-driving cars, navigating a busy city, even AI beating humans at really complex video games.
That's insane. So, okay. So it sounds super cool, obviously.
Yeah.
But the paper also mentions that DRL isn't exactly plug and play right now, right? So what makes it so difficult to use? Like, what's the holdup?
Well, imagine trying to build a robot from scratch in your garage. You'd need, expertise in mechanics and electronics and programming, and
Uh-huh.
DRL is similar. It demands specialized knowledge to both design and train these AI systems.
So what are we talking, like years of university just to get started? Like what kind of...
Not necessarily, but you definitely need a team of experts and, more importantly, a lot of computing power. We're talking thousands of CPUs and GPUs working together,
What?
not just your average laptop.
Okay, so definitely not something I can tinker with on my lunch break.
Right.
But what about those pre-trained DRL models you mentioned?
Yeah,
Can't those help?
they can, but it's still really tricky. Imagine trying to find a pre-built robot that does exactly what you need, Chances are you'll need to tweak it heavily, which again requires expertise and resources.
So even with these pre-trained models, it's not exactly a simple solution.
Right, and that's where this paper gets really interesting,
Okay.
It dives into how we can make DRL more accessible by leveraging something we all have, our collective intelligence and resources.
So instead of one supercomputer, we're using a network of, brains and computers?
Precisely. Think of it like crowdsourcing, but for DRL training. It's a pretty novel idea.
Uh-huh.
We've used crowdsourcing for things like data labeling, but using it for DRL training is a whole new ballgame.
Crowdsourcing for DRL. That's fascinating.
And to build this crowdsourced system, the paper proposes using blockchain technology as the foundation.
Blockchain.
Yeah.
So it's not just another AI buzzword, it's two. But seriously, why blockchain? Like, what makes it so ideal for this kind of platform?
Well, for starters, blockchain is decentralized, meaning there's no single point of failure.
Right.
It's more resilient and reliable than a traditional centralized system.
Okay, so less chance of the whole thing crashing because one server goes down.
Right?
That makes sense.
Exactly. And with blockchain, everything is transparent.
Right.
Every transaction is recorded and can be audited. This builds trust and accountability.
That's good, especially when you're talking about AI this powerful. You'd want to know who's doing what and that everything is above board.
Absolutely. But there's one more piece of the puzzle. Smart contracts.
Smart contracts.
Yes.
Those are the things that basically automate tasks on the blockchain, right?
Exactly. They're like self-executing agreements written in code. This cuts down on overhead and potential for human error, which is crucial when you have a large number of people participating in a complex process like DRL training.
So it's not just about the technology. It's also about ensuring the system itself is efficient and reliable.
Right. And this proposed framework actually offers two main services: DRL training and model sharing.
So if I need a DRL model, I can either have one built from scratch or I can use a pre-trained one.
You got it.
Okay.
If you need a custom-built solution, the platform connects you with experts who can design, train, and fine-tune a model for your specific needs.
Uh-huh.
But what's really cool is that it doesn't just connect you with any expert.
Right.
It has a built-in matchmaking system to ensure you're working with the best fit for your problem.
So how does that work? Does it consider their experience, their availability, their favorite color?
Well, maybe not their favorite color, but it does take into account their proven track record in specific DRL domains.
Okay.
It also looks at their available computing power. Remember all those CPUs and GPUs we talked about?
Yeah.
The system makes sure the expert has the resources to handle the training process.
So expertise A&D, the right tools for the job. Makes sense. What about model sharing? Like, how does the platform choose which pre-trained model to use?
That's where it gets even more impressive.
Okay.
It analyzes the specifics of your problem, things like the number of agents, obstacles, targets, and so on, to match you with a pre-trained model that has been successful in a similar environment.
Okay.
It's like having a personal AI assistant who finds you the perfect tool for the job.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
But did they actually test this framework? How do we know it works?
They did, and the results are really exciting. To test it, they ran simulations using 3 classic DRL challenges.
So what kind of challenges are we talking about?
First up, target localization.
Okay.
Imagine a search and rescue scenario, but with AI-powered robots or drones.
So instead of sending humans into a dangerous situation, you send in what, like a robot swarm? That's pretty sci-fi.
Exactly. The second challenge was multi-agent maze cleaning.
Okay.
This involves coordinating a team of robots to clean up a space. Sounds simple, but there are a lot of complexities involved in getting multiple robots to work together effectively.
So it's not just about individual robots, it's about teamwork.
Right.
That makes it way more challenging.
Right. And finally, they tackled fleet coordination for autonomous vehicles, which is all about optimizing ride-sharing services for maximum efficiency. This has huge real-world implications.
I can definitely see that. I mean, who hasn't been frustrated with their ride-sharing app at some point?
All right.
But okay, so they ran the simulations. What happened? Did it actually work?
It did. And they found some really interesting things. For example, they discovered that having more CPU cores significantly reduced training time, even if the overall outcome was similar. And when it came to GPUs, well, let's just say they're the Ferraris of DRL training.
Wait, how much faster are we talking here?
Yeah, training with a GPU was up to 19 times faster than without one. It's a massive difference.
Okay, that's a game changer right there. So it seems like getting those expert matches right really matters.
It does. In fact, the simulations showed that when experts used a well-matched pre-trained model, the DRL learning process was significantly faster and more successful. It really highlights the importance of getting that perfect fit.
So we've got crowdsourcing and blockchain and this super smart matchmaking system. It seems like they've thought of everything. But what does it all mean for the average person? Could this DRLaaS system really change things?
I think it has the potential to be huge. Imagine a world where anyone, no matter their technical skills or budget, could use DRL to solve complex problems.
Okay, but the paper mainly focused on robots and self-driving cars. Those are cool, but what about more, real-world applications beyond those examples? How could DRLaaS benefit someone like me? Are you listening? What could it do?
That's where it gets really exciting. Think about healthcare. DRLaaS could personalize treatment plans based on individual patient data. Or finance, where algorithms could detect fraud in real time. It could revolutionize so many industries.
Okay, my mind is definitely buzzing with possibilities now.
Yeah.
But before we get too lost in the future, let's go back to blockchain for a minute. You mentioned decentralization, transparency, and smart contracts. Could you unpack those a bit more? Why are they so important for DRLaaS?
You're right. Those aren't just buzzwords. They're crucial for making the system work. Decentralization means there's no single entity controlling the data or algorithms. It's like a level playing field for AI development.
So it's not just another tool for big tech companies to use.
Exactly. And transparency is all about building trust. With blockchain, every step is recorded and can be audited. That's especially important when you're dealing with powerful AI and potentially sensitive data.
So everyone knows what's happening and that everything is on the up and up. What about smart contracts? How do they fit in?
They automate tasks like selecting workers, processing payments, and managing data access. This makes the system more efficient and reduces the chance of errors or manipulation.
So it's like having a built-in referee who makes sure everyone is playing fair and following the rules.
That's a great analogy. Smart contracts help ensure the whole system operates smoothly and fairly, especially in a crowdsourced environment with many participants.
This all sounds amazing, but are there any risks with this kind of technology? What about the potential downsides?
Like any powerful tool, there's always the potential for misuse, but the benefits of DRLaaS are immense. The simulations showed remarkable results. For example, in the target localization challenge, the platform efficiently coordinated a swarm of drones to find a target in a vast, complex environment.
Wow, that's impressive. Sounds like something straight out of a movie.
It does, doesn't it? And the multi-agent maze cleaning simulations showed that the platform can coordinate multiple robots working together effectively. They were able to clean a complex maze much faster than a single robot could have.
So it's not just about individual AI agents, it's about orchestrating them to work together as a team.
Precisely. And in the simulations for fleet coordination, the system managed to optimize ride-sharing routes and drastically reduce wait times.
Okay, that's something I think we can all get behind. Less waiting around for our rides.
Right. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. We're really just starting to explore what's possible with DRLaaS.
It's both exciting and a little overwhelming to think about all the ways this could change things. But one question keeps popping into my head. If anyone can use this technology, doesn't that mean some people might use it for things that aren't so great?
That's a valid concern, and it's one that researchers and developers are actively working on. Just like with any new technology, it's crucial to develop safeguards and ethical guidelines to ensure that DRLaaS is used responsibly. Remember, this paper is just the beginning of a much larger conversation.
So it's about more than just the technology itself. It's also about how we use it and the rules we put in place.
Exactly, and that's why it's so important for everyone to be aware of this technology and its potential impact. It's not just something for AI experts to worry about, it's something that could affect all of us.
It's a reminder that the future isn't set in stone. We have a role to play in shaping how technology develops and making sure it benefits everyone. But before we get too philosophical, let's bring it back to the paper for a minute. You mentioned that the simulations highlighted some important findings. Can you share some of those with us?
Absolutely. One of the key findings was the importance of parallelization. Essentially, they found that the more CPU cores they used for training, the faster the training process went.
So more cores equal faster training. That makes sense, but what kind of speed boost are we talking about?
Well, in some cases, using 8 cores instead of just one decreased training time by a whopping 70%. It's a pretty significant speed up.
Wow, that's impressive. So if you're working on a complex DRL problem, having access to more processing power can really make a difference. What about GPUs? You mentioned they were like the Ferraris of DRL training. What kind of impact did they have?
Yeah, the simulations showed that training with a GPU was, in some instances, 19 times faster than training without one. It really highlights the importance of having the right hardware for the job.
19 times faster. That's mind-blowing. It seems like having access to those kinds of resources could really open up DRL to a much wider audience.
Exactly. And that's one of the key goals of DRLaaS, to make this powerful technology accessible to anyone who needs it, not just those with massive computing budgets.
It's really exciting to think about all the possibilities this could unlock. But before we wrap up, there's one more thing I'm curious about. You mentioned that the platform has a smart matchmaking system that connects users with the best experts or pre-trained models for their needs. But how does it actually work? What kind of criteria does it use to determine the best fit?
That's a great question. The matchmaking system takes into account a number of factors. For expert matchmaking, it considers the expert's proven track record in specific DOL domains. So if you're working on a problem related to robotics, the system will prioritize experts who have demonstrated success in that area. It also looks at the expert's available computing power. Remember, training these DRL models requires a lot of horsepower, so the system makes sure the expert has the resources to handle the job.
So it's not just about finding an expert who's knowledgeable. It's about finding an expert who has the right tools for the job. What about for model sharing? How does the system decide which pre-trained model is the best fit?
For model sharing, the system analyzes the specifics of your problem, the number of agents involved, the types of obstacles or targets, and so on. It then compares these details to a library of pre-trained models and selects the model that has been most successful in a similar environment. It's like finding a pre-built robot that already knows how to navigate your specific maze.
That's incredible. It sounds like the system's doing a lot of heavy lifting behind the scenes to ensure that users are getting the most out of DRLOs.
It is, and that's really the beauty of this framework. It takes care of all the complex technical details, allowing you to focus on what really matters, solving your problem using the power of DRL.
Wow. So it sounds like DRLaaS could be a real game changer. I mean, making this kind of AI power accessible to everyone. That's pretty amazing.
It is. It has the potential to revolutionize so many industries and really even just like our everyday lives.
Totally. And it's exciting to think about what the future holds, as this technology keeps developing.
Absolutely. Who knows what we'll be able to achieve with DRL in the years to come.
Well, that's it for today's deep dive into deep reinforcement learning as a service. If you want to learn more, we've got links to the research paper and a bunch of other resources in the show notes. Be sure to check those out.
Yeah, definitely check those out. And, let us know what you think about DRLaaS. Share your thoughts with us on social media using hashtag the Deep Dive DRLaaS. We'd love to hear from you.
Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep on learning.